Welcome everyone to the Voice of Terminus show, and we are here today with the regular cast. We have Josh. Say hello, Josh.
Hey guys.
We have Lexa with us. Say hello, Lex. And guess what, everyone? He's alive. Say hello, Kodiak.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody.
Yay,
So-
Kodiak!
I didn't eat him.
Yep. So Kodiak's here with us
Negative.
today to talk about what we just saw. And before we go and play off the videos and everything, give us all your thoughts, what you just saw. We'll start with you, Josh.
Yeah, it was great. I thought that the fluidity of the fighting has come a long way, as well as the models for the animal, and the scenery and the props that are happening. So I can see it coming together quite well, and it's going to look amazing once it goes live.
What about you, Lex?
Actually, I was very impressed with the windows. I mean, they did a really good job. The distortion effect on them. The landing model for the monk looked really good when Code jumped off of there. I'm also extremely happy that here we have a full group of very experienced old school MMOers. In fact, the majority of them are actual developers or designers on the game. They still wiped an awful lot. So to me, that says there's going to be so much variety in the mobs that even the most seasoned group is still going to be challenged.
Okay, what about you, Kodiak?
I just like from the progress that they've made just throughout the last few months, from the previous stream to this stream. I think the wolf looks really good. I mean, I've just been so busy with real life stuff that this is I'm like, yes, this is why I'm excited about this game. You know.
Nice. So we also have Nightmare and Shy with us. Say hello, you two.
Hello!
Yes, hello.
So what about you two? What was it for you? And we'll start with Shy. Obviously, the lady
Ladies
goes
first.
Well, I mean, just my own thing. It just looks so much more polished just in the last few days. They've done such a fantastic job. And when they did the pan out over the panorama and seeing the mist-covered mountains, my heart just skipped a beat. So I was like, oh, yes.
What about you? What about you, Nightmare?
Well, start off with the most basic thing. Nice to see that the wolf for the hat for the shaman got a new model. Looks a lot nicer. It doesn't. I've still got my fingers crossed. We might be able to eventually get a bear pet, but just holding out hope, because at this point I'm pretty sure it's tradition for a shaman pet to be a wolf. Yeah, EverQuest and WoW, for instance, both did that. But I liked the library area, but then again, that just might be the magic nerd in me who always likes stuff like that.
So for me, also, you know, the wolf's definitely come a long way, and I think the wolf, as it is, for me personally, is perfect. Leave it as it is. It looks great. Even the animations, the way it moved, and so on during combat was you know, spot on. I think they did a great job on that. And again, the library, I love the props. They've done a lot of work with that, and it looks like I was wrong. That shot that they showed us of the gnomes was not from their ship after all. It was from
I did
that
wonder about that.
library. So
I saw that and I was thinking, going,
so let's go and bring up the streams.
Actually, there's a very good question. Yeah.
Yep.
What were we unimpressed with?
Exactly. But we'll get into that in a minute. We'll let the streams play off. I'm going to play off the two streams here while we talk about that as well. Because obviously not everything is perfect, and you know, there are certain things that you know, stand out still. And it's also our job to even point that out to the devs as well, you know, so they can work on it. So, question from chat was, this is from J. Mafkin Lin. What were you not unimpressed with? What were you unimpressed with? Josh, what about you? Anything that you were skeptical about?
I think they've got a lot of work to do on the pull mechanic. I think that I understand that you pulling two, breaking one off, and letting one run back, but the fact that he's seeing his buddy being beaten up, about 2 foot in front of him, and he just wanders away, they need to somehow make that a bit more make sense in my mind.
Lex, what about you?
There were a couple little rendering issues inside the tower where, if you notice when Ko was panning out or turning at a decent speed, that some of the walls or some of the decorations got extremely pixelated. I'm talking like 8-bit pixelated. Like I said, not a big deal. Just a bug, but it's kind of like saying on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is completely impressed. You know, how I'm still impressed with everything. It's like a 7 or an 8, so I'm still impressed, but it's all nitpicky stuff that'll get fixed for me.
Anything for you, Kodiak, stand out that they need to work on?
It's so early in development, it really can't really be that critical about too much. You know, animate, everything's placeholders. They're still working on the group dynamics. You know, stuff like that.
No, that's a thing to point out also to Jay, Mafkin, Lynn. Obviously, there's still a lot that begs concerns, brings up strong opinions towards certain elements of the game, and like Kodiak, just said, it's still very early in development. As you can see, for me, the area so far from what we've seen, there's very little artwork, very little lighting effects still in there. There's no props put down to make the ambient look lively. And this is all stuff that they're still going to be working on. So it is definitely really hard to judge and talk about stuff that unimpressed us on a critical level, because they are still working on almost everything that they showed us today. But anyway, let's go and ask Nightmare. Anything that unimpressed you that you thought might need some tuning?
I'd actually very much see them spruce up the tower itself. Obviously, it's, as we keep saying, it's still in pre-alpha, so they'll probably add in a bit more later. I just felt like they could have had a bit more of a wizardy feel to it. Like, the tower, or the library in the tower was really nice, and I think that'd get a very good vibe. But I didn't really think that the rest of the tower gave that vibe as well. So, to be fair, we only saw a few rooms and such, so... But I would like to see them do a bit more. Overall, I have to say, though, I think this stream was a little bit weaker than the last stream. But I think that also because of the fact that last time we were getting a very big gameplay mechanic, and we were seeing a bit more of the outdoors, whereas this one, it was just the tower itself, and a few nice little tidbits, but overall I think this stream was a little bit weaker than the last one.
What about you, Shai?
Well, overall I was pretty happy. There are just a few little things, but really I'm not even going to go into them because it's still in progress. Yep. And it's going to end up getting fixed. It's basically the same thing everybody else said.
I do have one thing though to point out that I saw. As many of you know, I'm all about the environment and everything that's concerning the design of the game itself, the look, the feel. And I did see, and we'll see this later on during the stream, that some of the stones were kind of like floating in the air and not actually connected to the wall. That's stuff that they definitely need to fix. We'll point that out as well as soon as we see it, so that the devs know exactly what we're talking about. But I still have to say, again, looking at this stream, the spacing, the design of the tower itself, there's so much room for so many people to go and wander off and do things. They've done it exactly right. It's not generally oversized. It looks realistic in comparison. It's what you would expect to see when you hear about this, Tower of the Reckless Magician. And the thing that got me so excited was that it wasn't a tower that you just run up on the outside to the top, and at the top level there's a Reckless Magician. It seems to be multiple levels, a huge zone to go and wander around, with lifts going up and down, and turning points and connections and joints and everything. Where there's all kinds of ways to roam about. So I was definitely super excited, and the view, what we can see now on the right screen, like Shai pointed out, looking down on the top of those mountains, you've got the clouds, the fog, the mist. It looks great. It's come a long way so far. So
Also, something I would note, just to interrupt you for a quick second, is this tower doesn't really have the theme like you would think of a traditional magician. They definitely added in a bit of a monk aesthetic to it, like especially when you're
there's tons of monk elements.
Yeah, and even more so like when you're looking out on the misty mountains. That's not something you'd think of a magician. That's something you'd have a monk feel to it. So I thought that was
kind of give you that almost East Asian feel.
Why do you think they didn't show us the Reckless Magician? It's a myth. It's a monk. Actually, it might even be Aradun, the War Wizard.
It's probably, I'd imagine that he might be higher level than all of his minions, so... And considering how hard of a time they had with some of the mobs in there, I'm not surprised they didn't show him off.
Yeah, I agree.
And they did also say that that it was a variety of different NPC types that were in there. So you would have like the monks, the gnomes, etc., etc. So it may not be quite what we were thinking.
Well,
right.
Go on, Lex.
I was gonna say, I'm actually expecting the higher up you go, once you get to say like the top portion of it, you probably see a little more in terms of almost the wizardry kind of things.
Yeah.
Like we saw the golems in the library.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe higher up we're going to see lots of those, but they might be aggressive versus being just indifferent.
Maybe he's subletting the other floors.
Well, let's go and talk about the NPCs though.
Monastery.
Let's go and talk about the NPCs though real quick here. I love the way these guys are starting to look. Even in this early state of the game, the amount of detail, the amount of thought they've put into all these individual characters looking differently, you can easily identify that that's going to be a Gurkha, that's a Gurkha encounter, that's a Sentinel. You can almost see a rank system as well, almost be visual going through, and I love the design. They look really good so far.
They've done a good job on the models. I agree with you. And a lot of these guys as well, at these lower levels, are basically his army, so to speak. They spoke about that as well. So that's why maybe it's got more of a monk feel to it.
That actually makes sense.
So, what we're going to do for this stream as well is we're going to have you in chat be able to ask us questions. What from whatever you want to ask us, and we'll try and answer them. So you can ask anything, and we'll bring it up, and we'll talk about it. We'll answer what we can, if we can, and we'll try and talk about some of the things that they actually brought up as they come along. Just a quick info as well for Thursday. Thursday's show that was planned was going to be all about PvP, but we decided to postpone that show and veto it for the acclamation system, because there's been a lot of discussion since the first showing of the stream about the acclamation system. A lot of concerns have been brought up, and we thought, it's best to go and talk about that system as soon as possible. So on Thursday we'll be talking about the acclamation system and some of the concerns that people have, and what we can do, or what VR could do as alternatives to make this system feel more comfortable, more on the balance of what everybody is expecting. So that will be Thursday's topic.
Centro 7 asks, do you think we are seeing any iconic abilities?
Absolutely.
And Gazcool answered Shaman Slow is iconic, definitely. But anything else that we picked up there, guys?
We're seeing the wizard's roots. We're seeing the monk's feigned death. We're seeing monk interrupts. We're seeing. I know you can't see it, but it does float by every now and then. The taunts from the. I forget what Ben was playing. We are seeing a bit of stealth. We're seeing the mezzing from the rogue. So yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Quite abundance.
Yep. Goldfish, do we know anything about long-range movement, wizard ports? They talked about that a little bit in the last stream. There's going to be, like, the standard movement. They were talking about possibly doing mounts. They haven't said anything about ports yet for any of the classes.
They've hinted at it. They said it is something that they want to work on, but it's not going to be something that's going to shrink the world, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So will druids and wizards have ports? I think it's highly likely. Will it be in abundance as it was in EverQuest? Probably not.
I can't imagine them taking that out because it's so valuable and so useful for those classes, particularly the wizard, because it's just iconic. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the iconic ability of the wizard later on, is being able to port people.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it adds a whole new layer to the economy, a layer for socialization. Because if you're looking for group as someone who can teleport, maybe you don't like farming. Maybe you can just do the old EverQuest taxi service. It's one more option for players.
So, when we grabbed this and recorded this, we actually started late. Shai, did you watch it from the beginning?
I missed the first minute, but other than that, yes.
Okay, so you're at the same level as me. I do not know if they started directly where they are, or if they revealed anything. Because I'm pretty sure that, because on the last stream they were fighting that little encampment at the end, and they were showing off where the Magician's Tower is. I'm pretty sure that they're kind of like connected. I have a feeling that you have to kind of unlock your way or find something that leads you there.
I watched it from the beginning. All they showed was basically they started on like the area where they were currently fighting when we started this.
Okay.
And then they did show but then they were like, as they were looking out on the mountains, they said, "Yeah, you see that area all the way in the distance? That's where we started last stream."
Mm.
Oh wow.
And another thing they did show is both Ko and Kislin jumped off the side. And,
I saw that.
Kislin died, but Ko was able to survive thanks to a monk's ability to, I think it was called
Slow
Slowfall.
fall.
Right,
So-
Safe fall. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
safe
they
fall.
did also say that safe fall is probably not going to be as good as it was in the stream.
Oh, it'll get
Yeah.
tweaked. Yeah, you can't.
It's
fall.
still in a process of being dialed in. Actually,
Yep.
probably the vast majority of mechanics.
So there's a question from Priatum. What do you guys think is the biggest hold-up to getting to pre-alpha going? I personally don't think there's a major hold-up that's blocking them from getting people into pre-alpha. I think it's rather that they aren't where they want to be for pre-alpha to be. I don't think there's any major holds up, be it money-wise or technical-wise, etc. It's just that they're not at that point where they want to be for pre-alpha to kick in. They still want to get a lot of the features put in because they want us obviously to test a lot of the systems because nothing's set in stone. So I'm guessing it's just a matter of
Player classes as
waiting.
well. They've also got to finish as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah,
They were-
zones.
Well,
Content.
let's not forget the game is still in development. I mean, the acclamation system first rendition just went in.
Yep.
And it's not one of these things where you design it on paper, put it in the game, and you're done. Something that looks good on paper might not necessarily work well in game. So we don't know. Maybe this one's going to get scrapped. Maybe it's going to get improved. Maybe it's just going to get an overhaul. But either way, it's still got a lot of work left. And even with pre-alpha, you need to have the vast majority of your content and your features in the game just to get a lot of the major bugs discovered.
And I'll actually interrupt you a bit. Just to go along with that and how, they're wanting to move things ahead a bit, but they're still working on pre-alpha. They did say towards the end of the stream that they were going to be hiring more people for certain positions. So
At the end of this week.
that's a good sign. That's a good sign that the game is still growing and they're still trying to put in. But I would definitely say that they're not quite to the level that they feel comfortable, giving this to people to test out. I imagine they're close. But I don't think they're quite at the level.
Mm.
Yeah, they have to be at the right comfort level in order to do
Yep.
that.
because it's obviously always about first impressions. Because obviously, if somebody has a negative impression, then they might start thinking bad about the game.
Well,
So-
right. I mean, that's a big risk you take, even in testing. And you know, a lot of people will say, "Well, there is enough stuff here to test, so why don't you have testers in?" Well, they do. It's called internal testing. It's because everybody that's working there has the ability to, in some way, alter what they're seeing or what they're doing. With a player, all you can do is submit feedback. You know,
Correct.
So I want to quickly bring up a. Go on,
just
Josh.
one other thing. And also, you could see in the streams that there was a lot of GM cheats, so to speak, to get them from death to back where they were and that type of thing. So there's quite a few things that are broken between getting back to where they're fighting, and I think that would frustrate players no end if they had to deal with those things.
I was gonna say something to that exact line. Like, it looks hard right now. Like,
Yeah.
I think maybe even too hard that people are just gonna rage quit. You know.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Damn this game!
These guys are cheating.
we also don't
And
know
they're
where they're
dying.
starting.
I mean, come on.
So what you're saying is a rogue won't be able to do 1 billion points of damage with one ability?
Yeah, they took that ability away from Coulson at the very
Isn't it?
first stream. I remember that he had huge amounts of DPS. Anyway, I want to bring up a question again from the Goldfish. Does race choice make any difference, like KOS to guards, etc.? And I believe that they said yes. And depending on your race, your choice of race, you will have different attributes, different lifestyle choices to make, etc. They will also play an impact on your class, and obviously with the environment, the factions itself as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to have a Scar be able to walk through the halfling city because I want to eat them. You know? But yeah, it will play a huge role, especially with your starting factions.
And another question from Jay Mafkin, and we'll let everybody answer this because it's a question that everybody can answer. What's one of the things that we currently have seen that excited each one of you the most? And we'll start with Kodiak.
Team play. That's what I missed the most out of all these other MMOs that we played over the many years. Is you're just by yourself. Yeah, you need people, trade at the auction, whatever, but I don't need anybody to level. I do it all myself. I can have 10,000 alts and craft and whatever, and then I get bored after 3 months and move on. I think this is a perfect solution where it forces you to interact with other people.
Josh, your turn.
Yeah, I think Kodiak hit the nail on the head over there. I think that the variety of grouping that can happen. You can have 2 CCs in the group if you like. You can have a shaman healer or a cleric healer. You can have 2 tanks or whatever. The interconnectivity between the group and the way they work together ultimately is going to succeed or make it just harder for the group itself. So I think that's going to be great at the end of the day.
Lex?
I'd have to say there's 2 things. They kind of intertwine in a way. First, tanking mechanics. Just because I eat all that information up. Second would have to be the fact that because everyone's role is, I'm going to say everyone fits a specific role, but everybody can fulfill multiple roles. For example, the rogue is DPS, but can also CC. It really forces you to synergize or at least sync with your group, which it's not necessarily literally a closeness that you share with them, but it at least gives you that feeling of closeness with your group mates. And that's usually all that's really needed to spark new friendships, new relationships in any manner. So trying to find the right words here. It subtly forces you to make friends. Kind of come out of your shell a little bit.
Yeah.
And as much as I know people don't like being forced into anything, it's something that has been missing in MMOs for a very long time.
Nice. Shy?
Well, there were actually 3 things that they mentioned in the stream that just made me go, ooh. First, when they were saying about the summoners, well, actually, pet classes being able to give their pets weapons. I was like, yes, 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 yes. And the fact that it got me very excited to find out that they're actually planning on having the mobs change pathing on you occasionally. You know, I have that AI in there and just do something different, so it's not the same thing every single time as you sit there over and over and over and over. And the other thing was they're putting vendor diving in. Yes! I love vendor diving. I can spend hours doing that, going around the city, mining my vendors.
What about you,
Yeah.
Nightmare?
Well, obviously it was the Wizard Familiar. I mean, that is probably the best feature of them all. But, non-joking aside, it's probably the thing that got me into Pantheon is the fact that this is a whole new game from the ground up. As a player, I haven't ever gotten the chance or being lucky enough to be able to get in on the ground floor of an MMO, because by the time I usually find out about an MMO, it's usually either a year or two away, and it's just like, well, you know, there's so many people, and it's like you're never sure where to get into, like especially if you want to get into EverQuest with its 18 expansion packs or something like that. I definitely am liking being able to see this game like growing. The fact that I'm actually able to get on the ground floor. You have a whole new world, a whole new lore made by individuals within the MMO genre who know what they're doing. They have good pedigree to them. So I am definitely looking forward to seeing where this game goes. Like, for me, mechanics, while are important to an MMO, I'm a very adaptable player, so I can deal with mechanics as I go. And obviously, at this stage, I don't know how mechanics will play out, so I can't really judge on that. But I'm definitely liking to see where this game goes, because obviously, what we've seen so far looks really, really fascinating to me as a player. So.
Okay. And for me, it will be the fact that they're talking about localizing auction houses. Something we've been talking about on our crafting shows and shows in general is about the aspect of how the economy is going to come into play. Also, the fact that, like Shai already said as well, that NPCs will not have that static feel to them. They will change their pathing, they will change their behaviors, making the game feel more alive when you're roaming down this path or whatever. For the one group, it's going to be, you know, this way of handling things. For the other group, it's going to be something completely different. And the main factor is, like Kodiak, Josh, and Lex said, it's the grouping aspect. The challenge is the most important thing, though. These guys have challenge by the looks of it. It's not just go in there, beat them down, move forward to the next mob, and so forth, and get to the end of the zone and be done with it. There's actual challenge and the variety of choices made. The most important thing for me is the fact that we can have different setups and obviously have to take a different approach when we encounter these groups. Like they said with the shaman, the 2 tanks, you can have maybe 2 healers in there, 1 tank. I love the variety. You know, the looking for group has always been a disaster for me. I've always hated, in most of these MMOs nowadays, standing around for hours because people are looking for a certain class to fit a certain role within the group because they have this and have that. It's annoying. Let people group up. Go on.
Sorry, okay, so while we were watching the stream, at the very end, they were talking about keepers, you know, having different specializations versus the dispositions, and then, like, finding things and, you know, whatever. So I typed in chat, of course, they never read my question, but I was typing, like, so will the group makeup will be just as important as what class you are as to what specialization and keeper. So, like, if a tank has to be a disposition keeper, or if a rogue has to be a finder keeper, you know what I'm saying? Like, how will that affect, you know, the group makeup? Like, oh, I'm a tank, but I don't need you because you didn't specialize in disposition, so you don't know what you're about to fight.
Yeah, that could be an issue.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, like with the class specializations, I imagine that there'll be ways to specialize your class. They've only given a few examples. Like,
well,
for instance, with the rogue, you could be an assassin or a planeswalker, and the cleric has got battle cleric or curative.
Let me
So-
let me look at it from this way. I think it's going to be nothing major, because as long as you've got somebody that's specialized in one or the other or whatever, and you play it safe, you take your time, you don't just go raging off and running off and everything. I don't think it's going to matter that much, as long as you've got maybe one of, or but both in the group, or whatever choices are going to be available to us. As long as somebody in the group has that role, I think the group in general is going to benefit from it. Obviously, they're going to have to, pay attention if it's the healer that's got a certain disposition or whatever. He's going to have to, and he has to go and check what's going on in front of him. He's going to have to be very careful about it. So it's going to come down to knowing your class and communicating with each other. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to majorly unbalance or cause trouble for grouping. I don't think that's going to be that big of a concern, personally.
I think the lore keeper specialization is basically just going to be what fits your play style more.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I'm a tank. I'm not much of a crafter. I'm not much of a lore guy. I'd love to be.
Well, that was a bit of a concern initially as well, though, Alex.
Right.
As where they did speak about that would be like the most important keep it up thing to have. But
Right.
thankfully, they said that they would make sure it's up to them to make sure that other keeper skills are just as attractive as that one.
Right. And I mean, for me as a tank, it's and who loves to group, who loves to raid and all that stuff, all the PvE world. Being able to discern my target's disposition is of huge value to me. But if someone's more of a story-driven player, and they kind of prefer a little more role-playing, then
Raise his hand.
that investigative specialization is probably going to fit you perfectly. It's probably going to add layers to your gameplay, but it's just nice to have the option either way. So now the lore keeper can benefit both types of players.
Well, what I was saying is that, like, there's going to be certain roles in a group. Let's say, like, the monk, he's a polar, right? So he's going to definitely want the disposition keeper thing. So he knows exactly what the mob's going to do and how it's going to react when he goes and pulls. Like, that's a no-brainer. I don't care what. If he wants to do his job effectively, right? That's what he's going to do. He's not going to go be a lore keeper. If you know what I'm saying. If he wants to just dick around or mess around, then sure, go for it.
But for some people, that's absolutely going to be the case for some people. But there are a lot of people out there that would rather have the surprise of it, and that's cool. I mean, if I'm a tank and I'm just in a mood, then I want things to go smoothly. But if I'm in a good mood, I won't be worried about getting an extra added here or there, because even though that disposition doesn't guarantee you won't add, it's just hey. And
another thing to point out though, as well, is we do not know where the limitations are going to be. You might be able to have a bit of everything to some point. You might be able to go down this path, down this path, down this path, with the investigating, with the disposition, with this, that, and the other. You might be able to kind of think of it as like a similar to an AA tree. You go down certain paths, you unlock certain things, and depending on how you've gone and done that, you can take a bit of everything in, so that you're either like a multi-talent, but you're not talented that much to one thing. We do not know how they're going to limit it. Right. If there's going to be major limitations to the keeping system. For me personally, if it was up to me, I'd love to be a keeper of everything. I dig that kind of stuff.
Don't put limits. If I want to spend the time, let me do everything.
Yep,
exactly.
That's how I personally feel.
Oh yeah.
And I've said that in the crafting shows in the past too, right? If I want to spend the time learning being a master crafter and everything, let me, but I know that's not going to happen either. But anyways.
And hopefully, if they do decide to make it like specialized, hopefully they'll have a way for you to be able to respec out of it.
Yeah.
Like,
So
Because if it's just like
expansions come out, content changes, level cap, I mean everything. Yeah, you have to have a way to.
You know what? If you're going to take multiple paths on it, then if you're going to take a second path, it's going to take you 3 times as long probably to master that path.
Yeah,
and the
exactly.
third path will take you 10 times as long at the end of the day. But allow them to do it though.
I just want to quickly point out to chat that we're going to bring up all your questions as soon as we can. So don't worry if they fly by on your screen. I've got them here on my third monitor where I'll basically pull them up. I've been trying to bring up a question actually to these guys here, but they keep on rambling on. And on a quick side note, Shy, I've paused the second stream on the right because that's the desk and chair that I will have in my office.
You mean the one that I'm going to redecorate?
Exactly the how I want to have my office look when we get in game.
He's got a map, but we don't get one.
That's a little too elegant for my taste.
Don't even look at me. I don't decorate. You know that.
Hey,
It looks
Lex,
really-
it's pointy. It's scarish.
It looks
Not
really nice,
scarred.
but it looks like it just increases the chance of accidentally injuring yourself when you're
Oh,
fumbling
yeah.
around in the dark.
No, but
Oh.
on another side of that, I just want to point out the level of detail to these props. They look fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I
they're
And I have
Right.
to
beautiful.
say,
They look
I want
great.
that rug for my own house.
I want that map.
I would love
for the
that
wall.
rug in my living room right now. That would look perfect under my table.
I want the bookcase. I want the bookcase.
You
Yep.
can have the bookcase. I want the rug.
Now-
I want that carpet.
map.
With that being said, this is a question that maybe at some point VR can maybe answer. These kind of props that we are seeing, I would love to be able to craft that as a crafter.
Yep.
I would love
player
the
housing.
ability
Should
to
be able
have to go and craft stuff from other cultures, from other societies. We've also talked about this on our crafting shows as well, ways to obtain that and add that into the
I want
game
that
as an
free.
extra
Faction.
certain thing to do to become of. Question now that I want to bring up finally is this from Jess Farmer. Would anybody like to see loot chests drops like in EverQuest 2? So we all know in EverQuest 2 they have these master loot boxes that drop every I think 1,000 encounters or something like that randomly. They have master chests that drop. I'm guessing that's what he means by that.
Well,
Or
Were
I
you
would rather
talking like every
randomly
mob
find-
when they drop like a chest, or were you talking just like master chest in general?
I'm guessing.
At the end of a zone.
Yeah, I
So
would just
say
like
for
to
instance I'm
randomly
after and I'm
find
smacking
them
rats.
throughout the
So I'm
world.
smacking this rat and smacking this rat, and one drops a wooden chest, one drops a regular chest, one drops a master chest. Is that what you're referring to?
I do not know. That's something that
let's
Or were you
Jess Farmer
referring
would have
to
to.
killing rats and you just body loot, body loot, body loot,
Well, let's
body
look at
loot?
it from
Ooh,
both,
master
from
chest.
both areas
already-
here, okay? So EQ2 was you kill something. If it dropped any good loot, it was in a chest. It just magically popped out of the NPC's butt.
I want to know how the spiders carried that.
Well,
to
they
be
already
honest.
said that they're
Or
not
the
going to have a
rats.
world loot thing. Like it'll be specific to that creature, that faction, that zone. All the loot tables. will make
Intelligent loot.
sense.
Yep, intelligent loot.
Right. No, I understand that.
well,
But
and-
my question was, is it going to be like was this referring to like the random chance of having a master
Well,
chest drop?
They also said though, I think it was on the stream that they did on the 27th. That question was already asked, and I think Jopper answered it and said something along the lines of that there will be random chests out there in the world itself that you
Yeah.
can find hidden treasures, hidden chests. So I don't
Okay,
think
the only-
we'll see it like in EverQuest
issue-
2.
The issue I would have with that, with the random chests scattered around the world, I do not want it to end up being like Vanguard, where you have to buy keys in order to open the chests. That was a pain in the butt to find this beautiful chest, and then find out the only way you could get the keys was buying them
Paying
on the
real life.
broker or having to buy them off the marketplace.
Well,
Well,
that's,
we all-
you see, but that's how they do it. They affix you with the gambling desire. So
Well,
I
or
mean-
they could do it. They could do it something like, well, a rogue, or could pick the lock. Then that's a given, right? Roll
Correct.
rogue. Or B, have the blacksmith make keys and they can sell it on the market to other people.
Yeah, I would be fine with that.
Correct.
Or
I would be fine with
find a
that.
rogue.
option 3. like we
Or
talked
have
about.
a rogue unlock it for you. Yeah.
That's another way of doing it. But
Yeah,
option
and then the
3 is
rogue will steal
basically
stuff.
raw brute force as well. I would love to see raw brute force, depending on what kind of lock mechanism the chest has. If it's magically locked, obviously you can't use brute force and open it up. But if it's just got a general locking mechanism, maybe a ogre with a big massive hammer could
Oh.
smash it open.
Got an
There's
idea,
also a
right?
fourth one as
I'm
well.
gonna go way on the deep end, right? So brute force, you smash it open, you get the thing, but it's ruined. But now you know what it is. Now you have to go find somebody to repair it.
Yep.
Oh, crafters.
Fourth option is also a magic user having a specific spell to open the lock itself.
And this is obviously stuff that we've also talked about on previous shows. So if we bring up stuff again, we are sorry. But you know, we do this raw. This is not scripted. This is completely unscripted stuff. So another question I want to bring up is this is from Gazcool. Do you think the current death penalty of returning to your bind point is a good direction for player retention?
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that.
It's not bad
Yeah.
because you need to have a fear of death in the game.
Yeah.
The question
Yeah, I
is
mean,
how
it's too easy
severe. It's how severe.
Yeah.
If you go too severe, you chase people. If you don't go severe enough, then there's no real threat. You know, it's a very, very, very fine balance with that one.
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted to go old school, then that's the best way. Plus, it'll be slightly humorous for players because now the fact that in this, obviously, you're going to be stripped naked and having to do the corpse walk of shame. Even more embarrassing.
Running through the zone with SOW butt naked in your underwear.
Yep.
You know, I can just hear like the announcement over the global zone chat of somebody going shame, shame, shame.
So you realize that's going to be the thing now. Whenever you see a naked body running past your group, whatever, you got to yell shame. Heard it here
That'll
first.
be funny.
Make it happen.
I would like to be known that I have coined that phrase. So if anyone uses it,
Royalties.
Although I am curious if they will do like an EverQuest where all the sorcerers and spellcasting classes got the ability to change their bind points, or you have to do it a specific way. Obviously we haven't seen anything like that. It's hard to say. Alpha be alpha, beta be beta, gamma be delta. But I would think that would probably be the best option for them to do.
Yeah.
So another question that's brought up as well, and they actually talked about this, and there's not very much detail on it, and I'll answer this because it's quickly short. Razors 501, what happens when players die? Any XP loss? At the moment, they're still working on the death penalty mechanic.
Correct.
What they plan to do, or what they are planning to do, is basically you will have an XP loss, a debt gain. There won't be any level loss at the current plans, but that's something they will test when they get into beta to finalize how they're going to do it. So we'll have to wait and see. There's no actual system put in play.
And to simplify his first question,
when they get the beta, they can actually get feedback from their testers, or possibly even alpha.
and to simplify what happens when you die, as they've said, is unlike in the stream, when you die, wherever you're out in the world, you're going to be respawned at your bound point, naked except for anything in your skivvies, and then you'll be forced to run to get your body back, and all your items will be on your corpse. And I've seen a couple of other questions where people asked, it's like, can you retrieve your body? They have said that you're able to drag your body away, and you can give people permission to drag your body away.
And you can also get res too to bring you back to your body.
They've also talked about possibly giving certain classes corp retrieval abilities. I personally think that I could see a necromancer, if they do add that in, being able to like maybe summon people's corpses. Yeah, you're just gonna stick the whole corpse in your back pocket right there.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's going to be traditional to what most people are used to with corpse runs, and if and when they add necros, I'll be sure they'll be able to summon corpses across the zone. And you know, if they do bards, you're going to have bards, you know, running hella fast to go grab, you know, corpses and drag them back to you. So it's going to be pretty much what everybody is used to, I'm sure.
Another question from chat from Pi007. Did they mention anything about wandering mobs integrated into the static mobs we have seen? I hope to see more wandering mobs to keep people groups on their toes.
Oh, this is another one that makes me so happy.
Same.
Oh yeah.
My goodness. They've basically said that they're exploring the idea of having patrols change. Probably, you know, it'll, and possibly even NPC migrations. There are no words left in the English language to express how happy I am when I heard that.
Well,
Well, that was the thing, that you're not going to have static spawns, right? So it's
Yeah,
not
that
every
is
time
nice.
that mob
Mhm.
spawns, it's not always going to be a wizard. It's not always going to be, you know, the black armor guys. It's not always going to be, you know, a Sobador.
Well, another thing to point out, the most important thing about it as well, is when that mob spawns, it's not necessarily going to be an alarmist either, or
Yeah,
or a
disposition will change.
brute, or you know, somebody that cowers away. The dispositions come into play. That are always going to keep you on your toes, regardless. Will be the dispositions, anyhow. Because we can wander there, think that this guy's respawned. No problem. It's so and so.
X1Z.
We'll
Yeah.
go and beat him down. All of a sudden, he acts completely irrational towards us because he's got a different disposition, and now he's basically alarmed everybody, or he's
Right.
taken us on, and he's gone
Yeah.
raving mad. So, yep,
And
add that to
if
it.
you take away from what they've said about the changing and possible migration of NPCs, as well as the change of dispositions, is that say you go to the same zone, the Tower of the Reckless Magician, go through the doorway, it will not be the same every single time,
Mhm.
which is huge
Awesome.
player retention.
So another question from chat, from Razors 501. Will stuff be soul bound?
They did say some stuff would
Yeah.
be no trade.
Some
Yeah.
stuff
No
will be no
trade.
It's a
trade.
quest
Be no
type
trade.
thing, it'll be no trade. Like if you
Yeah,
had to,
things
like,
that are
epics or something.
customized for you will be
Yeah.
bound to you.
Yep, so crafters, when they modify stuff for you, because again, we have to point this out as well, crafting will be one major part of this game as well. Crafting is not something that you put on the side or do on the side, it will play a major role. They even emphasize that being an adventurer and being a crafter will benefit you along the way. So, and everything that crafters modify for you will be bound to you. It will become a no trade soul bound item, and items like your epic weapon or your epic armor, stuff like that will also be soul bound. But in general, items will be tradable, be able to be passed on even to your younglings as well.
By the way, Gazgo has a question for Lex. Lexer, have you considered role-playing as a Scar? You might have more in common with him than you might think.
Eat the half-legs!
Yeah.
Lex,
I think he does
always
that on the
channeling
daily.
his
What are you
inner
talking
Scar.
about?
Let's just say scars are my outlet for my rage.
And another question from Sithaski. I'm sorry if I'm slaughtering these names. Different countries, different cultures, different ways of pronouncing it. When is this game going to be playable? At the moment, they are in what we would call pre-alpha state, where they're still doing a lot of design work. The first testing will be the pre-alpha for the VIPs, which is planned sometime this year, but it's not set in stone, depending on how and where they get or where they want to be. The planned release, roughly, again, not set in stone, is to be somewhere around 2018. I'd say, for me personally, somewhere around the summer and the fall of 2018 is when we will see the earliest release of the game.
The way I look at it is, kind of prepare yourself for the end of 2018. If it happens earlier, you're going to be super excited. If they have to push it back, which please, if you guys need to push it back, push it back. You know, do what you got to do. Put out a good game. We won't be so disappointed. We'll kind of be prepared for it. You know, nothing hurts more than getting an actual time and date and then it being pushed back. It's like, oh no!
So, one thing I want to bring up as well right now is because we're seeing a lot of the splash effects on the floor. I was watching the stream with Lex and Josh together, and we were talking about the blue water splash effect that we saw come from Dropper. The heal that he has, that he heals one individual with that. We thought about how would it be for groups, for a group heal, and we thought it would be pretty cool to actually have that splash effect be kind of like the group heal. If you're not in it, you're not going to get healed. So you have like a circle on the ground, and that's where basically the group heal will be cast. And then, boom, if you're in it, you get healed as a group. And if you're not, then hey, you're out of luck.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, I've seen other games that did that for healers.
Yeah.
Because I remember one, I can't remember the game, but I remember one healer, he had a macro set up that every time he was about to cast, he basically said, hug the tank.
That's right. It's like
when I
Rift
started
or
grouping
something.
with
Yeah,
the guy-
Guild Wars 2 had that, I think, too.
when I started grouping with him on a regular basis, I made one, basically said, whose hand is on my, yeah. So,
Right, so
mechanics are always good.
this is a question where we're going to have to go and basically try and look back, because I think this is either the first or second stream where I think they actually talked about this, and I think it's been discussed in the forums as well. Another question from Razors501. I want a hard game when I'm obliged to group with other players without using social killer tool like Group Finder. Will a global discuss channel exist in-game? As we know...
I think they talked about it a bit on this stream, actually, doing something like small. They're not going to do like LFG or LFR from WoW, like you could just hit a button and such, but I think there was like going to be something similar to that, where it's like you could put yourself on a list or something, which would be very, very nice.
Well,
And
you gotta
it'll
remember, these guys
probably be
are-
a local list too. It's not going to be a global
Right.
thing either.
Yeah.
So it'll be because you're not going to try to find a group on another continent that's going to take you 3 hours to get there.
Right.
You
And you got to
know?
remember, these guys are, you know, some of the original people from EverQuest and Vanguard.
Quest, yeah.
You know, the LFD channel that was a player-made channel
Yeah.
was very popular, and it worked very well.
Yep.
So I really wouldn't be surprised that if they allow us to create channels, they would naturally be global, and then it would probably most likely organically evolve into just an LFG.
I personally think as well, from my experiences as well with group finding tools, etc., or dungeon makers, dungeon matchmakers, I prefer having a customed channel in the UI in chat rather than using a group finding tool myself, because you never know who you're going to get linked with. And I've had some of the worst experiences with these kind of tools in my gaming life. I've been put together with people that just went off the radar and went absolutely insane.
I've seen somebody put
Sorry.
a tavern board on there, but that's funny because I mean you could do like a mercenary list, or something like you're a mercenary, right? So hire me to go, to join your group.
We actually
Like,
talked about
Oh, you did? They've been gone for so many months.
Yep,
So.
we talked about tavern boards. As you remember the stream in December, when they were going through the village and they showed off the perception for the first time, there was actually a bulletin board outside, just outside the or inside the city walls, and we were talking about this on our crafting show, or one of the shows anyway, adding a bulletin board, or even a tavern board in this case, to offer additional quests. You could maybe even use that to add even more immersion, where people can actually plan in-game calendar events where, let's say for instance now, us four are planning to go next week, next Saturday, off to the Reckless Magician's Town. We're looking for two other people to join us. You could put like an event planner on there. I think it's a pretty cool idea actually, to add some immersion to it as well. That's a good idea.
Yeah. It is a very good idea, especially for immersion.
Yeah. Gaskell, and then you can rate other players like Uber drivers 1 star. I would say that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Because that is open
Oh,
to
jeez, I'd be in trouble.
abuse. That's just
I'm
opening
like, this
to
tank
abuse.
sucks. Don't ever have him.
Well, you can limit it. You can
Yarn
limit
would
it.
be giving me false stars as well.
And
He
leave
would be giving me fake
comments.
stars.
You can basically limit it. You can just basically plan. You pick the zone you want to go to. You put the people that you currently have, and you put down the 2 slots that you're looking for. Boom, done. You can't leave any comments, any remarks. And it's going to happen anyway. People are going to get called out left, right, and centre. You know yourselves, with the amount of years of experience we've had playing, people that are disastrous, that are evil or complete utter
Let's say
trolls.
just toxic.
they can't hide. They will
Exactly.
be found anyway. So
Yeah,
if
that's-
Exactly.
Sorry.
and to be
It's
honest,
unavoidable.
why not have him on a blackboard? Why not have the troll list on the blackboard so people know stay away?
Well, the thing is, like with the global system, it forces the community to kind of work together. Because when someone is a toxic person, and I mean toxic in the absolute worst way, that person gets known very quickly throughout the server if you've ever grouped with them or not. And people just start to know, don't do anything with this guy. I've gotten into groups because, I've always been attentive. I've been into groups where they pull in a DPS, and I know that this person has a bad reputation. I basically tell whoever's putting the group together to mirror him. And if they choose him, that's fine. Don't make a big deal out of it. I let them know I will not group with this person.
Honestly, I mean, I know they're wanting to do the whole like name of shame thing, like once a name cycles through a community. But the problem with that is obviously somebody can just remake a character. Even in old school, like you can just make a new character, level them up, and then the old character just goes by the wayside. So it doesn't work all that well.
No, and there's name changes. There's a bunch of way around, but
Yeah.
like I said, it's more community word of mouth because then most people don't realize it's actually that they have a bad reputation. What? No.
Yeah. You have been
I hate you
red
so
tag,
much. Oh my God.
blacklisted, Lex.
There you have it.
Here I try to actually be, a neutral person or in a normal conversation and be positive, and you're just like, bro.
I'd like to just for the record, I had nothing to do with it. But
That's wrong.
I'm just staying out of this.
Raz's 501. Do stuff have item levels, or just several quantities like rare, uncommon, trash? I don't. Have they really shown anything off that much yet, or is it still everything is basic? Like, do items have item levels, rarities? and
Well,
stuff
it
like
said
that?
it'll have like some type of scaling or something. He was trying to
Yeah.
explain,
Yeah.
like it'll have like required level this or whatever. If you can equip it based on your skill level, like because your slashing is only a 10, you're gonna miss all the time. Doesn't matter how powerful a weapon that you pick up,
Right.
you're still gonna suck at using
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Type,
I'm actually very happy about that. How it's all going to scale down because I mean I do.
Give me a second. There we go. Fast forward. And wait for it.
Yeah, I saw it there.
Yeah, so I got to pause it. Come on, Co. Go back. Grab your guy. Hey, carry on talking. I'll pause it when I see it. I'm watching this right now.
I don't really think we've seen anything like in terms of the item quality levels. We
Wow.
have seen like green names for items that have stats and basically white names or gray or trash. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see different tiers. But like in terms of the whole recommended level thing, I've actually talked to a couple people that really don't like that. That they're not pledging because of it, and I keep trying to tell them it's not a bad thing. These are people who they want to try a new class, so they tweak it and they get it up to like level 40 in a day. I always try to tell them, like, you're not enjoying the game.
Mm-hmm.
You're almost forcing yourself bored of the game. So,
Right.
I mean, recommended levels is nothing but good.
So,
Yeah.
if you ever happen to watch this, on the right screen you see it now, there is a rock floating in the air. I don't know if you can see my mouse. I'm not sure if my mouse is actually showing on the screen. But this rock is floating in the air. And it's off. And another thing I want to point out as well, being an environmentalist, and paying attention to the environment more than what's going on with the group.
To be
These
fair,
rocks,
it's in a
Yeah.
wizard's tower.
Hey,
so
we're in a wizard
magic
tower. It's a
rock.
magic rock,
It's a
dude.
magic
Relax.
rock.
I was about to say that.
I
mean,
shall
that's what I
double
say.
the rock
Hey,
of Aerodon.
hey, I did not
We
see
absorb
any
the magic
signs.
powers from
I
the
did not
soil
see
and
any
drive
signs
them
of a
out.
reckless magician in there. So
There's a
until they
tree
prove me
growing
wrong.
inside the building.
Anyway,
It's
you know,
sandwiched between the tree
yarn.
and the building. Yeah.
I pay
It's all
attention
good.
to stuff like that, and
You're
those
such a picky
rocks,
bastard.
And those rocks, the way they are right now on this screen, would not stand like that. They would fall down to the floor. So you
But
need
the
to put the
rocks of
bigger
Aragon-
rocks at the bottom and the smaller rocks at the top. I'm just saying.
That's the one over there.
I'm just saying.
Oh my god.
What
I'm
was it?
picky
They were
like
talking
that.
about- When they were talking about
I
falling,
know. I've seen you in person. I know.
Oh God.
There.
Any
Oh,
other,
yeah,
any,
that one was
Voices of
floating, the one
Terminus.
behind his back.
any other
It's
questions?
Royal Rumble.
Any other questions beyond the us obsessing about rocks? Or...
No.
No, I think he
Yarnilla's
just had to get it
obsessing
out of
about
his system
rocks.
was all.
Although obviously, as you can tell between the two screens, you can definitely see that the wolf looks a lot better. Between...
It looks so much. I still want to see it sit though.
The one thing that I mean, I know I said this like a year ago. I want to see the wolf grow with us. So I want to start as a pup, then have like a juvenile wolf, then an adult wolf, then one with a mane, then maybe one with some armor.
Well-
Like have it progress with you and get
Make it-
cooler.
And make it look old as well. Older, more
Correct.
wiser.
If it
I was
was
gonna say you don't want an old geezer wolf out there fighting. He's gonna keel over
we
from a heart
want
attack.
an experienced buff one with a mane and some armor.
Yep.
By
Yeah.
the time you're max level, you know.
And a little goatee as well, and grey.
Well, that
Those
would be
glasses.
cool. But here's the thing, though: is it a wolf, like a physical animal wolf, or is it a spirit wolf? That's the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
spirits don't age.
Shaman's will.
Whatever,
Must be
dude.
spirit.
Whatever. Crush my
I'm
dream.
just saying.
Crush it.
By the
Dream
way-
crusher.
By the
I
way,
feel the
Gaskell-
trolleys coming back up.
But
I just
Gaskell
summoned a
pretty much
different wolf. I didn't like that wolf, spirit, so I'm gonna get a different spirit of a better, more experienced wolf.
Oh, it'd be nice if you could trade him in at Walmart or something and get like a totally different animal eventually.
But Gaskell just pretty much summed up Yarn right there. My immersion!
Yeah.
Battle that hurt me right in my immersion.
Hey, I do.
Immerse me!
That's what I do. I pay attention to everything else apart from the group. People are gonna die when they're grouping with me. Left, right,
Gee, I wouldn't
center.
know anything about that.
Noted.
I would know nothing about dying with you.
Here's a question that's actually really good, because I've seen several MMOs do this. From Jay. I'm just going to call you Jay. I'm sorry. I don't want to butcher your name. What do you think about login rewards / lottery systems?
Hate 'em.
Uh,
Absolutely hate 'em.
Personally, I do not like them, because while yes, do somewhat encourage people to log in, I personally am against stuff like that, because but it's just a personal
Game.
thing. Like me,
The own.
The game needs to be your reason to log in. Your friends
Yeah.
need to be a reason to log in.
Yeah,
not
your-
some
it's
show
the
community.
The only thing I
Yeah.
could see, as for promotional reasons, what they could do is maybe like if with the subscription system, we know it's going to be subscripted, 30 days,
Yeah.
whatever. Maybe if you play the game or you log in every day for 30 days, basically, they give you maybe an additional 2 days or something like that as a reward or something maybe something along the lines of that.
Because that just reminds me of a cash shop. Like that's all they're.
Yep.
I'm just anti any of that crap. Like just let me play with my friends and leave me alone.
No,
The only
But that's
thing that
just
I
me.
would have over there is maybe you had like awards that gave you stuff to put in your house, for instance.
Mm.
Oh,
Okay, well,
God.
to your player type of thing. Or...
Oh, I don't need a
I'm-
house.
Oh,
I've
no more
never-
Sha'd be all over that.
Give me a
I'm
tent
never
in
a
the
fan of
forest.
anything stuff like that, because SWOTOR, Star Wars, the Old Republic had stuff like that. But the thing is that usually when people do things like that, it's exclusive stuff you can never get again, and then it's content that's taken out from other players. Like, say for example, if you're just like walking around and you see this really cool thing, it's like, I want that. Oh, sorry, it was a reward for logging in. It's like, but you can't ever get it again. It's just like, well, that's content that player can never
Yeah,
get.
that's your 90-day straight reward. Okay, because I'm a casual player, I'll never see it.
Yeah,
Well,
so
yeah,
it's just,
I mean that's the thing.
You know.
My sub, my support of the game. Okay, there shouldn't
Right,
have to
exactly.
be continual logins. Get these flashy little trinkets, just so that I feel like I'm helping the game, or I'm just getting something for nothing.
Yep.
I've always.
Absolutely.
That's one of the things
It's-
that has really, really bugged
Last
me
thing
about
I need is
Korean.
more crap.
It's always hard. It's always hard to find the right balance if you're going to do a reward system as well, because most of it is it's useless. It's junk.
Right. And now veteran rewards like EverQuest, or I should just say Sony Online Entertainment,
Yeah.
how they did it,
Cough,
that
cough,
was
choke,
good.
choke.
Yep.
It's not
Some of
even. It's
the-
not
some of the
even that.
rewards-
It's what's it called now? It's
Now it's Daybreak Games.
Daybreak,
Now it's
yeah,
now
there
it's
you go,
break
yeah.
day games.
Yeah, I spelled like
Break the
games.
games.
But
They
I
break
mean,
games.
the rewards that they gave you, some were
And they do.
really nice. Some were just kind of like, whatever. It's whatever. But I can see that one where it's like, your account has been active for a year. Like, sweet. I didn't have to go out of my way. I didn't have to ruin. I didn't have to, inject the
I would
game
do
every single
account
day.
rewards like that. Been active for a year, not logging in like 30
Right.
days straight or something.
I'm still
Or
personally not. I'm still not personally for that because I feel like the reward should be you're playing the game, and then it's like if you've been logged in for a year, it's like you have all these memories. Your character's probably decently kitted out for a year, so that should be.
But if we did like a Facebook memory thing when you log in 1 year and it
Oh,
does like
God.
these are your events that you've done through the
Do you
last
remember
year,
back 3
and these
months
are your
ago,
friends
you were
that you've
here.
made, and these are your high five, and
You're going to make me cry.
It's like, do you remember that
hilarious.
time that you got? Do you remember that time that you got ganked by a bunch of lobies?
yeah. That would be so
It's even got a screenshot.
We're gonna
to go
post
with
this
it.
on Facebook now.
Yeah.
Oh my
Enjoy.
god.
It's like,
Oh,
you remember that
God.
time
I
that
just
you
seen
face
one of those
pulled
like
and wiped
yesterday,
your
like,
group?
oh, I've been friends with somebody for 5 years, and it does all the little pictures of the, anyways. That's what made me think of that.
It's like, yeah, it's like, remember that time that you face pulled and got your whole group killed?
Yeah.
And then it's just like they post that, and the people that were in that group just look at you. It's just like, with
Yeah, they'll
sleep.
when
look
it
at me
comes-
going, yeah.
When it comes to the veteran rewards, I'm fine with it to some point. It has to make sense. I don't want all the fluff that we get additionally with it as well. All the XP boosts and this and that. Stuff that actually
They're
really
pointless.
makes sense. Like, for instance, getting in EverQuest 2 the Call of the Veteran, for instance. That's something of value. Yeah, that's
When it
that's
works.
when it works. Yep, as we know. Daybreak Games, and that's another thing. I wanted to connect something now to Daybreak Games and Visionary Realms because they rushed putting in all of these cool gimmicks and fine-tuning. They had bugs in this stream. The very first time we've actually seen major bugs, the flame, the floating rock, and everything. So
My immersion.
my immersion. Yes,
My
exactly.
Oh, it stuck my foot.
But no, what I'm trying to say is the very first time that we've actually seen major bugs, the very first time.
Yeah?
It's the and they're not even really major. We had that fire flame floating.
They're more visual.
It's visual
Like,
stuff.
I just-
How
I feel
stable
that
is this game?
If
It's
they do
amazing.
a reward system, I don't want it to have stuff like that, Call the Hero or whatever. If it maybe just some pictures or some fluffy crap for your house. You know what I'm saying? Like
I've
something
got
that
enough
doesn't
crap for
affect
my
the game
house.
at all, and it's just for you.
That's always bugged me going out and doing quests, and you do this quest and you get
house
a
items.
bucket.
Oh,
You do another quest, you get another bucket. You get another bucket. Stop giving me all these buckets or all these
or you
tables
get
or all
rugs.
these chairs.
Nothing
It's
but
junk.
rugs.
Just for me to go and sell it to the vendors to get a bit of coin, or because I'm an addictive person, I put it in my house and I have 10,000 buckets and tables and chairs roaming around. That's the stuff that destroys the fun of the game. Think hard about your reward system. When it comes to questing as well, that's terrible. Anyway, we're gonna bring up some questions.
I'm anti-reward, so.
If I had to choose, though, I would say no rewards.
There you have it.
I would rather have no
like
rewards.
Daniels, I agree 100%.
Obviously, like VR is trying to find a happy medium because there are some things like they're talking about towards the end of the stream where they're going to be having localized auction houses. Like that is definitely a gray area between all of the other things, and it's a happy medium. That's the thing. They're doing new things, but they also have to at some level find happy mediums because nostalgia is great and it's a very powerful thing for this game, but there are some things that nostalgia just isn't going to help you with.
Okay, so Kodak will be right back. Anyway, let me bring up some questions. First one from Shishatsky again. The game, is it free to play? No. The idea is I think the first 10 levels or something like that is where you can basically test out the game, but I'm sure you will have to purchase it and then decide if you want to sub or not by playing the first 10 levels for free or whatever they plan to do in the end, and then decide if you want to go and carry on playing this game or not. So it's going to be subscription based, and how...
Now, there is one way to get free to play. You just have to give them $10,000 for the top level reward, and you will have a lifetime subscription.
You can play that game for 10 years and not spend that much.
Let's see, I'm
But,
curious how much.
well, I mean, but here's the thing you got to remember. Like, I'm probably one of the cheapest gamers out there. I've played almost every game there is. So I've subbed to every game out there that has a sub for at least one. Right now on the market, the vast majority of the games are not worth a sub. They do not earn it.
Correct.
You have to decide especially with Pantheon, you got to sit down and decide, is this game worth it for you? If it is, $15 sub, that's basically saying you're going to be guaranteed a quality game.
Let me bring up a follow-up question.
Okay.
From Sithaski again. Will this game have a raiding scene similar to Final Fantasy XIV, World of Warcraft, WildStar, etc.? What will endgame consist of? Now, this is something I want to quickly go and answer, and then let the guys answer as well. I personally hate the term in MMOs of endgame. I hate it with a passion. There should be
Agreed.
no such thing as
Same here.
endgame in an MMO.
There should be no end to it.
I personally would like to see raiding be something as a cushion, an addition, just another thing for you to do. And they've already stated that raiding will be on multiple tiers. There will not be raiding only in endgame. And they also mentioned as well that for you to level, for you to go throughout this game, it's going to take you forever to level up, to explore the world. They want you to explore, find stuff, engage, and unlock lore, unlock the perception systems. So technically there is no real end game. And I hope that they stick to it as well, because end game is the worst word in an MMO. There shouldn't be end game. That's what single player games have. They have an end to their game.
Yeah,
MMOs
actually-
do not, or should
Actually
not.
follows up by that by saying end game equals max level. But again,
Yep.
But max level should be something that opens you up to a whole new world. But it also should be something that's continuing on with your character's story.
Correct.
It also should not be the end all of everything.
I think it's just
You
because
know?
end game has just become this negative connotation to it. Like, I know in World of Warcraft the whole goal is to rush to skip all the levels,
Yeah.
get to max level. You can
Yeah.
raid, PvP, dungeon. It's like, and then it's like you get burnt out because what are you doing beyond that?
How many
Well,
times
and
have
then
we...
you miss
When you
all the
get there, you're
content
doing
that
the
was
same
done
old thing
in between
over
them.
and over.
That's one of the reasons why I ended up stopping playing EverQuest 2, because it became rinse and repeat. It was all about the end game stuff. After about 2 weeks of the expansion being released or whatever, people had gone through all the content, all the solo stuff, gotten their gear for the raid stuff, and that was it. Boom. There was hardly any chance to group anymore if you didn't have enough people. There was constant whining because, hey, when's the next X-Pack coming out, or when's the next live update coming to offer us more? That's what happens when people rush to the end game. As said, that's what happens. People get bored and start, moaning and whining. The game isn't hard enough, or it's too easy. Well, then stop rushing. There's so much that you could have explored and got your hands dirty in and gotten to know a bit of the lore. There's so much games have to offer, but people oversee it most of the time because they're
And then
all
you have
about
all
their
these empty
ego
zones they
of going
missed.
to the end because,
Yep.
hey, there's nothing going on in the
Correct.
middle or the lower levels. There's plenty going on. It's just that people tend not to go and see it.
Well,
Yeah.
I think their mindset is basically you log in, make yourself 100 character, boom, you're rating, and that's it. There's no in between anymore. And that just kind of sucks because you miss out on all the neat artwork that was done, all the lore and everything.
Correct.
Uh,
Jack Daniels asks, will they ever introduce different factions? That was a big part of competitive
I-
gaming in WoW.
Don't think they've said anything yet. I mean, that's probably something that they'll do
Well-
in new expansions.
with the factions and whatnot, they were also saying they're showing the NPC factions. I don't know if they're saying anything about the PC factions.
Although, obviously, I imagine the PC factions will probably be guilds, which obviously those will crop up.
Well, it's kind of like with EverQuest. Your action was technically based upon your alignments. Like, for example, if you look into EverQuest, and I'll go into a little more detail for those unfamiliar with EverQuest, the Ixars that came out with the first expansion pack.
Yeah. Hated by everybody.
Lizard people, hated by absolutely everybody.
Right,
But
so
them and ogres were both technically evil, but they still hated each other.
let me go and bring up some questions again. Sithansky, is this an indie game or AAA?
I think it's supposed in the middle.
The company themselves describe themselves as an indie company, but we all know who Brad McQuaid is, the godfather, the grandfather of MMOs. He's definitely AAA game, and some of the rest of the dev team are also from AAA. I personally feel that this game is going to be AAA, but they don't know it themselves yet.
Or they don't want to jinx it.
Or they don't want to jinx it. And a follow-up question to that is, let me find it.
I think they want to keep it away from AAA as much
Yeah,
as possible.
yeah.
So
It's a niche product, more or less. It's a niche product. They want to be, they don't want to go and conquer World of Warcraft or all the other big names out there. They want to have their little corner of the market, and it's not going to appeal to everyone. And this follows to your question as well that you asked as a follow-up. Let me have a look if I can find it again. It keeps on jumping. Why the hell does it keep on jumping?
Because people keep asking questions.
No, I've got it. I should have it. You were talking about basically you're looking for challenge and everything. Will the content of this game offer you that? Definitely. The game will offer you so much challenge. Alone with the perception system, the way they're going to handle the crafting element of the game within the adventuring side. As you can see on the stream, what we saw the past streams, even though a lot of mechanics, like they said, weren't already in on the NPCs, like knockback, kick, stun, this, that, and the other. It was more, hack and slash at the moment because those elements haven't been put in. But when they do get put in, you saw how tough it was for them now. When that all comes in, this game is going to be very challenging, and the content is going to offer major challenges because there's going to be conflicts happening throughout the game with the perception system as well. I can see that happening. That conflict will come in where you're going to have to decide and think about how you're going to approach something, what you're going to do first, and what not.
And believe me, this game isn't going to be for everybody. So you're going to see a lot of people going, I don't like this, too hard, blah, blah, blah. But
Well, that's because they're used to easier games, though.
Exactly.
They're not used to the actual challenging games.
Right.
So they're going to be kind of surprised, I think.
Right, and like I said, reiterating with like the mob migration, patrol migration, plus the changing of dispositions, that on top of having different people in your group that all have a important role to play, everyone kind of does have to pull their weight regardless. Every single group, no matter where you go, always pose its own challenges, which is something I think a lot of us old EQers have just been dying for. Yeah.
Should Pantheon borrow the Dark Souls catchphrase of "Get good"? Get good, son.
Well, I hope that the Pantheon community doesn't get in that kind of mindset because that's detrimental to the community. That will scare players away before they even give the game a chance.
Oh, I agree. The thing is like, it's a mindset thing because people will hear it's like, oh, this game is meant to be hard, and that will shy them away, kind of like Dark Souls. But the thing is, I really do think people should give the game a chance. There's obviously going to be people who are willing to lend a helping hand where they can. Then there are going to be people who are going to be complete, idiots. They're going to be complete rude. They're going to treat you
Trolls.
like filth. Well, not just trolls, because at least trolls, they have an agenda, whereas some people are just going to be like, I don't have time for you, I've got to do things on my own, stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, or as like Mako in chat said, looking for DPS in Amber Fate, gear score 260 plus. Like, that's something that will probably inevitably happen. I mean, I'm happy the fact that they did say they don't want to have third-party mods that do stuff like that, so that will help.
Right.
But it will inevitably happen where some people in the community will find a way to decide like what level a player is, and that's going to probably start filtering downwards and such.
So, I want to bring in a question from Thundar Moose. The investigation side of the perception system are supposed to lead to quests, right? So that gives them a pretty huge need besides lore. They haven't really elaborated much on how they're going to implement and use and explore the ways of the perception system, but as it stands now, there are two abilities, one passive and one active. You have the investigation side, that's the active ability, and then you have the passive ability, insight. Now, the way I see it, or how I would love to see it done with what you asked, is if you investigate, you might be able to unlock quests, but again, the insight also gives you that ability too, if you think about it. Insight, the more knowledge you get, the more insight you have, so you might be able to unlock it by studying books or going into certain areas and finding certain things as well that automatically give you indications to. So they kind of work both, it kind of works similar, one or the other. The one's active, where you actually go out and seek and investigate stuff, and the other one's more driven by knowledge, more or less. So they work kind of hand in hand, I think, and we'll have to see how they go about it in the future.
I actually think this is a good question. Dirk Boo, I think that's how you pronounce it. What do you think of the compromise on the auction house system? Me personally, I actually thought it was probably the best that they were going to be able to hope for, because there's some people who are going to want an auction house, there's some people who are going to want the EverQuest system of, screaming in chat, selling their wares. So having a localized auction house to put stuff on, I think, is probably the best option you could hope for. Something like this.
It's something that we actually talked about in our economy stream that we were talking about. We were talking about ways for the economy to, influence us more with tax systems, pricing being variable, and this is absolutely a good thing to hear today, was that they were planning on having localized auction houses. That gives us the means to go out and explore, to look around, because that's another thing we always have to remember. Perception can kick in anywhere. So exploring and using this option to go and visit other towns, other auction houses, it's like a demand, a need and demand system, where you have people that are demanding. You might have in one town, like in Thronefast, a high mining shaft where you can get special rocks. So now crafters can basically take that to maybe where the ogres are, or the Scar, somewhere in the desert, I presume, and where they don't have so much rock, but they have a high demand for it because they use it for their cultural buildings. Now you take that to their auction house, you can sell those goods for a lot more than what they would be sold for in Thronefast, because they are inhabited in Thronefast's region, and it kind of gives a bit more realism to the market, how the real world works as well.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to comment to Dark Boo. He was saying about the he was thinking that localizing it was a waste of time. We all know some neutral city out there will end up being the AH hub. Any and all trading will be done at one place. Now, however, I do think that it's going to end up being a local for your race rather than a particular city. So each race area is probably going to have their own little trading area. So if you are a certain race, you can do that until you get the faction up to be able to go to a different place.
Yeah, and I also have to point out where he's obviously he's continuing talking about that. Everyone always comes together, and that is where everything will be sold, no matter how it's split up. Something I had to point out, and something that they've been harping on in this game, that's a player decision. Like, they're giving us a system to work for, and yes, like, in EverQuest you had the EC tunnels. players will inevitably go to one area where it's convenient. I mean, the benefit of that side is essentially you have a rich city where everyone's going to be traveling far and wide to come to this place to sell their wares and such like that, which has a nice little bit of roleplay to it. There's really no way they can make that better because even if they use the system in EverQuest, there will inevitably be one city to rule them all, as it were.
Well, the thing is, the only reason that happens is because of the failed design. Again, that is not entirely true. The way I see it is, if it's balanced out what they have to offer in all these regions, content that is driven towards high, let's call it endgame people to low level people, etc. We know they're going to be mix matching. Certain areas are going to have areas where there's lower classes, or the starting zones where all of a sudden you might have a level 30 encounter in that area, that region. It all comes down to offering and balancing out the world, spreading out the content. In most of these games, if you look at World of Warcraft, if you look at EverQuest or EverQuest 2, the EC Tunnel, why? Because it's the most central point. People can go in all directions. In World of Warcraft, you have Ironforge, you have Azeroth, basically, and then you have the other one on the other continent. It's all central areas where people can fast travel to this, that, and the other, and move to. If it's spread out, though, there won't be I can't see them needing to have a forming of a certain favoured city for trading. It all comes down to how they balance the game out and spread the content out.
Right, and they're not going to have, they've already said they're not planning to put a ton of fast travel out there. They're not planning to do the major porting stuff. So, I mean, you're going to be localized as it is.
I don't have a problem with it, people congregating to one city, because think about how in real life that would work. Obviously, when an area becomes rich, that place becomes built up, and it becomes centralized. Something similar to the EC tunnels. It's like, when you find a location that is where that most people are going to be moving through, that becomes a place of commerce and trade, which is a very nice thing. It has a very nice roleplay feel to it, and that's something designed by the players. It's not something that's forced by mechanics. It's something that's designed by the players. Like, they give us a system, and we make it good or we make it ugly. So, power to the players.
Yep, it's all
and
down
if you
to us.
remember, EC Tunnel was also popular because of the fact there was no bazaar at that time either.
Yep.
Once they put the bazaar in, EC Tunnel basically died.
It all comes down to us as players. We also make and break games as well. It's not just the developer side. It comes down to us as a community for allowing certain things to happen or not happen. It also comes down to us as well. We have as much fault to carry towards these games being what they are now as do the devs. We can't just put the blame on one. It's a team effort. At the end of the day, it's up to us to make it worth its while and be as great as it can be.
Yep. We're building the pre-alpha and alpha.
Mm-hmm.
What feedback's for it?
And if you're definitely interested with that, Boo, go watch our discussion on the on our YouTube channel, the economy discussion. A lot of ideas, info came out of that stream on this exact topic with the auction houses, etc. Cool ways to go about it and not make it happen that we have favoured cities where people find a certain auction house to go to and buy. Taxation could also come in. That's one way to stop it. If you're not from this actual culture and you're in this city, you get higher tax. You have to pay a higher tax. Boom.
Right. So you could still buy the stuff if you've got the faction, but you're still going to be paying a higher tax.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm sure they will find the best method. Obviously, with some things, as they said on the stream, some things are simply necessary evils for the sake of convenience. Because some things simply don't work in this day and age. Like, obviously, the EC tunnels grow up over time. And whatever method they come up with will probably be better planned, better thought out. So I look forward to seeing what ultimately they do.
So from this point on, when the next stream comes, whenever that will be, I'm just so super hyped. If you look at the what we've seen, the new areas, the new zones, imagine what this will look like when they add more flora, more lighting. The artists get their hands on the individual areas and start populating it with props and this and that, and it's going to be so cool. I love the look of these pillars as dragon claws kind of thing. They have a dragon claw kind of look to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that begs the question as well. Is there maybe a dragon hidden underneath this tower in the bottom?
Never know.
Or at the top?
Maybe the mage is the dragon.
Maybe the
Could
mage
be.
is the dragon, exactly. There's so many questions that have gone unanswered, VR.
Well, that's because they haven't given us a lot. Like, everything that they've given, we can mule over and chew on, but they haven't really given us a whole lot of answers.
They did a good job of it, though, I thought.
Well, of course.
They give us
course,
enough
but
to
it's-
say without actually saying anything, except for just little tidbits.
So you're saying they should have been politicians.
Well, here's the thing though. Go back and watch their first stream.
The major difference.
It's almost
Oh,
painful
yeah.
to watch after you watch these ones.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they will do with this. Hard to say when the next stream will be. Probably many, many months from now.
Exactly.
Well, I know they had mentioned at one point that they want to start doing it more.
Yeah.
We help them,
I
but
definitely
it
want to see.
is a lot of work.
I definitely want to see more out of the classes. Like, even if they're only giving us pre-alpha looks at the classes, I would like to see each of the different classes.
Yes, I want
because
to see
obvious-
Summoner.
Because obviously, yes, we know you do. I'm not biased. It's not like I'm unbiased because I definitely want to see wizards.
Now,
Please, VR, please.
what would be some of the things? Now, let's say, for instance, you had player's choice right now. Next stream comes up. What would be the number? Let's say we can pick 2 things that you want to see in the next stream, and they could deliver. What would it be? And we'll go through this, and we'll ask. We'll start off with Josh. Josh, you had 2 choices for them to put anything in or show you anything in game from all the systems, all the classes, all the races, whatever it is, your choice. What would the 2 things be?
Underwater, some sort of underwater type scenario, and possibly a raid scenario.
Okay.
Those would be the 2 things for me.
Lex, what about you?
Easy. Dire Lord.
Okay. Nightmare?
I would have to say I would like to see more information on the races and more information on the classes, because obviously those are going to be 2 very important things for this game.
Okay.
You stole my answer.
Okay,
You
so
can still use the same answer.
Oh,
is that your answer, Shy, is it? Go on, Shy, tell
we
us.
just took it. I'm not going to say it now. We already said it.
See,
Oh, do you
now
wanna
this
see
is
frogs
what the
and
big
you wanna
difference is between these guys and myself. For me, I want to see the weather, and I would love to see the day and night cycle.
There's the weather. Look behind him.
I want to see
Well, that's not
actual
really
weather.
That's
I want to
actually
see the
environment.
rain, the thunderstorms, maybe sandstorms. I'd love to see how that's going to impact
I'd
us,
like to see
and day and
typhoons
night
on
cycles. Actually see the change happen completely. That's what I would love to see.
Yeah, I just love to find out more about the races. I mean, I'm really wanting to find out about the races. And of course, my beloved summoners. But
Another question from Prescott Stoops. Does anyone else want to see food drink as an important game mechanic?
well, yeah,
Absolutely.
of course.
I'm of
Well, it's
2
like-
minds about this, purely because the fact that saying it's important is kind of an oxymoron anymore, because the fact that even in EverQuest, it boils down to, okay, do I have this in my bags? Yes or no? Go buy it, stick it into one of my bags, and then forget about it. So, kind
I
of
would-
hard to call it important if it's something you can just set and forget.
I would prefer to see the food and drink actually be something that's needed. I don't care if it has stats or not. But if you're running around with no food and no water, and depending on the environment you're in, I want to see it make you be in a heck of a lot of trouble.
Mm.
You know, so you run out of water in the desert zone. Watch it
I-
actually have a detriment on you.
I would
mean,
love
that would be
to.
awesome.
I would love to actually see also different uses of food and drink. As we know, in most of the
fight?
games, you go and craft your food and drink. It lasts for either 3 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, you name it. Now, depending on what kind of environment you're in, like you just said with the desert, obviously you're going to be hydrating more, so you're going to have to drink more, so you'll have a higher use of your drink, your fluids. The same with being in cold areas, having to eat something warm. Get that fried frog leg and tromp away.
The only problem I see over here is that Lex will want to group with at least 3 halflings.
Oh, definitely.
Every time it goes up.
Hey, axe on the road.
And of course, if it's like EverQuest, certain classes will be able to summon food and water, so it won't be a problem, like the summoner.
Well, to be honest, I would rather see the crafted food be much better rather than the summoned food, and have the summoned food just be like a, oh crap, I ran out of water type of thing.
To get you by.
Yeah, the summon.
That's just like, oh yes.
That's always one thing that bothered me though, is why do I have this ability that as a healer or whoever could do it, to summon food and drink to my aid, to myself, because I could only summon in EverQuest, I could only summon it to
was
myself.
A gift from your god.
But it was pointless. It was absolutely worthless in the higher tiers, because it was a level 1 spell that you had, but it didn't grow in strength or anything. So as a last resort kind of thing, if I ran out, me being a healer, I'm obviously important to the group, but it had no impact. It's like, this is a useless spell. I would still like to see this, if this is an ability that some classes get, that it still carries a little value throughout the game's progression in levels and whatnot. Not to the extent that it is basically almost similar to what crafters can do. Crafting should always be the most important thing. Crafters should be able to make the coolest stuff, the better stuff that's out there, for me personally. But it still should hold, be something that I could still obtain if I've ran out of food and drink, and keep me kind of stable.
Right. I mean, I would like to see, being a summoner, I mean, I would love to actually see my items be useful, because that is one in all the summoning classes. Never summon food, never summon water. It'd be nice to actually have them used for once.
Yep.
Maybe you could actually throw them at enemy mobs.
Some of those little rolls, I wondered how hard they would be.
So,
well, considering it
I'll just put a
EverQuest,
big
like,
bullseye on
summon
Yarn's
black
back.
bread. It's like, ugh.
I'll check bread rolls.
Goes good with blue butter.
So let me go and bring up again quickly, advertise next Thursday, or this coming Thursday's show, and we rearranged, or we've had to rearrange our schedule that we have. I will update that as soon as possible, our calendar. But this Thursday is all about. Oh, welcome back, Kodiak. I'll ask you a question as well that I asked these guys here in a minute. But next Thursday, or this coming Thursday, is Acclamation. We'll be talking about Acclamation and ways that they could make this maybe better. Because a lot of us on the fence have a lot of concerns towards this system.
Downright enraged.
Moko, off call.
And we're going to talk about this and alternatives, ways to adjust it, make it more understanding, maybe more better. So that's what's coming up this Thursday. So, question for you, Kodiak, and what I asked these guys: if you could have 2 things that they could show you on the next stream, it could be anything. What would it be? Your choice. They could show you anything.
They couldn't show me what I wanted to see, but
Well, no, that's the thing. 2 things: show you what you want to see.
Let me think about it for a minute.
I'm waiting to be like, where did that look?
I mean, I want to. You know what? Actually, I would love to see a lava zone.
Oh, there you go.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'd love to
Ooh.
see a
Interesting.
lava zone and a new class, druid. You know, another tank. You know, a dire lord or a paladin. You know.
Yep.
So those would be the two things: another tank and a fire zone.
Okay.
Did I pass? Did I pass the test?
You made
I
Lego.
suppose. You
Yeah.
tipped the class
I'd
from
like to see the
a little
bard.
more towards tanks, so I'm happy.
Hey, you had your choice already. There's no
I
third
know.
picks. So, by the looks of it, chat's quieting down as well. They have no further questions. We'll give it another 5 minutes, guys, and then I think we've talked enough. So if you have any questions, you've got 5 minutes now to post them, or we'll try and fly through these. I'll pick a random person here in our stream to answer.
All I know is I apologize, guys. I wish I had a lot more time as I enjoy these.
Oh, let me bring you
Yeah.
back up on screen as well. I'm hiding you still.
We are seeing a lot of chatter about seeing a full quest line. Which
To be fair,
I can get on that.
you're a bear. I mean, you have to, you're slow, so.
Did you just call Kodiak slow?
He's a bear.
Boy,
Hey.
you are cruising
Hey,
for
bears
a
can be
beacon.
pretty fast though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I've seen them book.
Day one back, and already he's gonna go for the bear hug.
Do you know if they plan on making evolving weapons or gear?
Well,
We
technically,
actually-
weren't they trying to do that with the adornments that they were talking about?
We've
They talked about modifying gear using crafters to modify your gear. But I don't think about picking up a weapon at 20 and having it grow with you all the way to 50.
We've talked about this multiple times. Crafting on our crafting shows, general shows. Me and Lex are kind of like on the same page. To some point, we would love to see evolving gear. Like in between certain levels where, let's say for instance between 30 and 40, for instance, your normal gear maybe lasts you 2-3 levels before you have to go and change it out where it becomes important. But also have some gear out there that maybe last you, between 30 and 37 or something like that. So you carry it for a longer period of time and not keep on switching. That's one of the main reasons why I quit the MMOs that I was playing, because it was rinse and repeat throughout the entire game. Be it through the normal release of the game to the next expansion to the next. Went through the content, got the end gear, new expansion comes out, go out into the dungeons, get some new gear to put it on because I'm worthless otherwise, and then rinse and repeat. I'm fed up with that. I would love to see to some point gear kind of grow with us, but not to the extent where it becomes overpowered, overvalued, and like Kodiak said as well, crafters will play a major part as well.
I think when we were talking about epic gear, many months back or whatever, that it would be cool, like at level 20, let's say you did epic quests throughout your journey, right? So at level 20 you did epic gloves, right? Then at level 30 you did your epic helm, but then you also got another quest to upgrade your gloves to that level 30, level. And then at level 35 and 40 or whatever. And so by the time you hit 50, you would have a full suit of epic gear with your weapon and stuff like that. But you'd have to quest and, modify it as you grow with it. I thought that was a pretty cool idea.
Oh,
yeah, when it comes to the epics,
yeah.
Without going too crazy on the whole system, I do agree with Stoops that evolving gear does hurt crafters. But when you consider something like your epic, is your iconic weapon or your iconic armor. When it came to like EverQuest and a lot of the older ones, you get your, Wild the Hunters got their bow or like that. How long did that really last? Maybe a month.
Yeah, but
All of a
Lex,
sudden it was trash.
the only reason it hurts crafters is because crafters never played a part in it.
Right.
If you put crafters as the main source, the only source to evolve that gear, the crafter is not hurt anymore. Make it something where it has to be done by the player crafters.
Right.
Only they can advance stuff. and that's where this, this constant concern of it kind of destroying the crafters or hurting them gets obliterated. It gets blown out. It gets blown up. It's gone. It's disappeared. That's the major problem. If they put the crafters in it, and it requires maybe a lot of different crafters to do this item, so that everybody kind of gets a piece of the cut, and doesn't, we don't have a favoured crafter, then it might work. Now I'm going to go and pull out a question, and I'm going to go pick somebody randomly in our group, and I think I'll take Josh. Josh, this question for you to answer. Any word on race specific abilities?
Nothing yet. I think that there may be something down the line, but they're still working on it as far as I'm aware.
Okay, there you have it.
Short and sweet.
So, I guess we'll call it now. So, thanks for joining us, everyone. We hope you enjoyed our post-stream coverage. We will be back on Thursday with our normal show. And Kodiak, thank you for embracing us with your presence.
My life's just really crazy right now, guys, so I apologize.
Well, just know that we do sincerely miss the Kodiak.
Yep, we do.
This
Well, I
week,
appreciate that.
The bear shall now go back to sleep
Yeah.
for several months.
Yep, so
Poor Cody.
Kodiak the bear is going to go back into hibernation. He will be back soon, maybe.
Yeah,
And
hopefully once everything settles down.
if you ever want to chat with us, get in contact with us throughout the stream, we've had multiple times links to all our YouTube, Discord and whatnot. Just jump in. Everybody's invited. There's no limitations, there's no restrictions to joining in on our Discord server to chat with us or talk about whatever you want. Feel free to jump in, and we will see you all on Thursday. And thank you, Nightmare and Shy, for joining us.
Thank you for having me once again.
And
Thank you.
a major shout out to Josh and Lex for putting in the time for this special stream, because we don't normally stream on Tuesdays at this time. Thanks for hanging out, guys. And we'll see you all on Thursday, 4 PM Eastern, same channel, different topic.
And be safe, people.
Take care, all.
Hey. Bye.
Bye.
Safe travel.